Brent Venables has to win the game of the week against Michigan.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day and your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in this, the greatest sport on planet Earth. Do we actually have big conclusions from Jackson Arnold's debut against Baylor? Got the win, still more to prove. And under the radar coaching pressure exists in Las Vegas this weekend. I'll tell you about that on today's show, which is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. There is not an excuse in my mind, barring John Mateer getting hurt on the first play, for Oklahoma to lose this game against Michigan for two reasons. Reason number one, Brent Venables is coaching in a season that has everything he needs to succeed on the roster. That doesn't mean get to the playoff. That doesn't mean win the SEC championship. That means he has a roster with a quarterback who you brought in, was one of the top signal callers to move in the transfer portal. There's nothing about this game. There's nothing about this Oklahoma team playing in front of their home fans. They've had a game to get loose, to work out the kinks. They blasted Illinois State 35-3. No surprise there. You've got a roster that allows you to be competitive in this game, or as they are by 5.5 points, according to our friends at FanDuel, be favored in this game. So that is reason number one. Reason number two. You have a quarterback coming in Bryce Underwood, who's played one game in his entire career. He did some pretty good things in that game. Michigan wasn't all that impressive, but they're not always built to blow teams out, even ones that they're better than, because they play just a slow, grinded out style. They could play the same game against New Mexico as they do against Ohio State, or as they do against Oklahoma this week, or really anybody, and the final score could wind up being kind of the same. They don't have the explosive passing game to go and score a bunch of points quickly and blow teams out. They have to create explosive running plays. So was it a great performance against New Mexico? No. Bryce Underwood showed some glimpses of the special talent that he is. I like that they're starting him this year because, number one, it's fun, and number two, I think for the trajectory of the program, it's the best thing to do. But Bryce Underwood has never played a game away from home. Norman should be rocking, and he is going up against a defense that is Brent Venables' calling card. That's the side of the ball that he comes from. They have been better and better on that side of the ball as they have progressed. You cannot lose this football game. I'm not going to make my prediction yet for this game until Friday's show, when I get one of our, or both of our Locked On Sooners guys here to discuss the matchup. But Brent Venables has every advantage. He's been at Oklahoma longer than Sharon Moore has been over at Michigan. He's got a quarterback who is far more experienced than the guy on the other side who's playing his second game of college football. And you went out and made the sort of transfer portal moves that don't allow for a lot of leeway to win this game. Now, is Brent Venables going to be told he's no longer Oklahoma's head coach if he loses? No. What would happen in this game, if Brent Venables doesn't go out and beat Michigan, it's a data point that's moving towards, hey, we're going to make a change. It doesn't write the final chapter, but it's one of the chapters, or several chapters. An entire golf round can't be defined in one 3-hole stretch, but every 3-hole stretch contributes to your 18-hole score. And when you have Oklahoma's schedule, which is one of the toughest in all of college football, this is simply not a game that you can afford to lose. In a couple of weeks, Jackson Arnold returns. Who isn't excited for that? The quarterback return games we're getting in college football this year are so much fun. Darian Mensah at Duke next week goes back to Tulane. Jackson Arnold returning to Auburn, amongst others. It's really, really fun. Anyway, I mean, imagine if Oklahoma played Washington State this year. That would be fun. Like next week, they go at Temple, a game they're going to win. Imagine if that was at Washington State. That'd be cool. Anyway, you have Auburn, who look good against Baylor. We'll talk about them more later on today's show. You, of course, have Red River against Texas that is going to be a better version of itself by the time that game gets played on October 11th. You have to go to South Carolina. Then you have to play Ole Miss. You have to play at Tennessee, who look good in week one. We'll see if Joey Aguilar sustains that level of play, but that's not an easy roster game. You have to go at Alabama, which doesn't look as tough as it did on paper when the season began. It's still Alabama. Just kidding. It's not. But you still have to go on the road, and you know the fans are going to show up. And then you have Missouri and LSU at home. So if you're trying to make the college football playoff, like Oklahoma has as good of a case as anyone. Florida maybe fits into this category as well. Wisconsin would fit into this category. Their quarterback got hurt. I don't know that they were going to get to this level anyway, but schedule-wise, they have a chance. Michigan State sneakily has one of the toughest schedules in all of college football. Those are teams that have a legitimate case in my eyes, even though it's not how I would like the playoff to be. It's the world that we have. Those would be 9-3 teams I would give more of a chance to as candidates to be an at-large team. Because this is among the toughest schedules in all of college football. But if you are going to do that, you have to be able to win this game against Michigan. You're probably going to lose a game or two at home this year. It cannot be this one. It simply cannot be this football game. Brent Venables is in a year where I think to some degree he's coaching for his job, not in the same way that some of the other coaches with hot seat pressure are. If it doesn't go well enough, I don't think there's a hard number that Oklahoma would have to see other than a bowl game, which I think they're going to get to, for Brent Venables to be assured that he's going to keep his job. But in these sorts of big games, I think Michigan is overrated at number 14 in the country. Oklahoma is favored for a reason. On paper, which is not where games are played, on paper, they are definitely, in my view, the better team. But if Oklahoma is going to get to the 7, 8, or 9 or 10, 10-2 Oklahoma in the playoff, no question. Absolutely no question. 9-3, you're probably going to get a look. If you go 8-4, and you wind up being a game away from making the playoff at 9-3. If you go 9-3 or a game away at 10-2, yeah, that's a disappointing season because this is the Oklahoma football program and expectations should understandably be high given the program's resources and its history and all of that sort of stuff. But with the schedule, yeah, you got to add some context in there. But if you don't win this game, that schedule is going to look even tougher. You're going to look at it and go, oh my gosh, I bogeyed the first 3 holes, and I didn't even get to the tough stretch of the golf course yet. Oklahoma's got to win this game. Will they? You're going to have to wait for my prediction on that one. But I don't have to wait around for yours. Do you think Oklahoma wins? Do you think Michigan wins? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter. All of that good stuff. Jackson Arnold, speaking of Oklahoma, do you think I planned these shows on accident? Absolutely, positively not. Won his debut over at Auburn. Questions still remain. First, this episode brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive, and that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every detail. As an athlete, you focus on every detail. Mazda does the same, from metallic accents to hand-stitched Napa leather. You can feel it every single moment you're in the car, and from the first moment you get behind the wheel. The smooth handling, intuitive controls, standard all-wheel drive in every crossover SUV. Mazda's got everything that you want, paying attention to the details, which I appreciate. I'm a pretty detail-oriented guy, or at least I try to be. It's the small details that make the big plays, and just like there's more to every player, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Speaking of the Oklahoma Sooners and the quarterback that is no longer their quarterback, he's down with which team? Yes, the Auburn Tigers, the 1-0
Yes.
Auburn Tigers. Full credit to Hugh Freeze and company for that win. That was a coaching staff win in game 1 against Baylor, but a darn good one for Auburn. And Zac Blackerby of Locked On Auburn is here because I want to ask you about Jackson Arnold. I had a very clear and decisive take. Auburn fans weren't happy with me, which is just standard operating procedure at this point.
You're
because
wrong. You're wrong. You picked Baylor. You were wrong.
Yeah, no, I definitely picked Baylor to win that game. I'm not trying to rewrite history on that front.
Sure.
But coming out of the game, my take was that's a great game by Hugh Freeze. That's a great job by what they've done in the offseason, putting that on the field because they dominated in the trenches. My goodness, that offensive line was really good. The defensive line was disruptive. Secondary got beat at times, but made plays when it really mattered. And I didn't walk away with a different opinion of Jackson Arnold because I saw him run around behind an O-line all day and thought, well, I already knew that he could do that. I watched him do it at Oklahoma. The question I had about him going to Auburn is, will he become more refined and capable as a passer? And I'm not saying he can't, but we don't know that after the Baylor game. Is that an unfair take to you?
I think so. I think so many folks that have a national platform like yourself just look at Jackson Arnold's final product when it comes to the box score. I mean, it's been pretty clear. Coach Freeze talked about it after
I watched every snap of that game. I didn't box score troll on this one.
You saw Baylor playing off the line. You saw two deep safeties, which is begging you to run the football. So Auburn did over and over and over again. I actually think this is a major step forward for Auburn fans. And I know you made it about Jackson Arnold, which is fine. But I do think a big thing from Auburn's point of view has been last year and the year prior, Hugh Freeze's first 2 years, I think they would have seen that and just thrown it anyway. And now you've got a quarterback that's, running this Hugh Freeze RPO that's actually making the right decisions and putting the offense in a situation to succeed. And that's something that we haven't seen consistently anyway since Hugh Freeze has been here. So what does Jackson Arnold do? Jackson Arnold, pretty much all of his big runs, you can tell on his touchdown run, he's looking at Eric Singleton. You can tell that's the read. It's not there. He takes it. Boom. Touchdown. I don't really know what else you want from the guy. He consistently made the right read over and over and over again, took care of the football, which is a major question about him going into the season. That was a thing throughout fall camp. And he goes on. He leads the SEC in rushing, and he wins SEC Offensive Player of the Week. I don't get, no matter what he does, national media is going to point at him saying, no, it's not good enough. It's very strange. It's like you guys all had a meeting together, and it's like, hey, I know Jackson got SEC Player of the Week, and like,
how'd you hear about our club?
Years, but let's keep not giving him credit. I think it'd be hilarious. It's odd, Spencer. It's very
hold on. First of all, how did you discover our Discord chat? I mean, good. It's just me and Klatt and Pate and Kirk Herbstreit. It's all of us. It's all of it. We all get together to conspire.
You deserve every bit of the success that you found, my guy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to push back again on what you just said because nothing about what you just said relates to my initial take. I did not watch Jackson Arnold play that game and think to myself in any way, not just because of the final stat. No, hold on.
Do you want him to have an incorrect read in all of this? Do you want him to say,
no, absolutely not. But again, I credit that to the coaching staff for the game plan that they had. Because what I heard from Auburn fans all the time was, well, why would they do anything else when they can run the ball that much? They shouldn't. I said the same thing about the Georgia Tech game against Colorado. They were running the ball at will against the Buffs, and they were running their quarterback. And then on a first down, they tried to play action to take a shot. And I went, wait a minute, you're going for 6.5 yards a carry. What are you doing? What are you doing? And then Haynes King threw an interception. And it's the same thing with this Auburn win over Baylor. I feel like that's more a credit to the coaching staff. I'm not saying Arnold deserves none of it. I'm just saying the turnover point is a valid one that I probably have not given him enough credit for. But how many games on Auburn's schedule, Zach? Now, this week against Ball State notwithstanding, how many games?
Not a state. By the way.
It's not. It is a place.
Not a state.
It is a place in Muncie, Indiana. But how many games on Auburn's schedule this year that Tiger fans want to see them win are going to be able to look like that Baylor game where they go for 300 plus yards on the ground? I'd argue that once you get into conference play, that answer is what? Maybe 2? It might be 0.
I think he got a shot against Missouri. I think he got a shot against Arkansas. I think he got a shot at that against Kentucky. Probably not Vanderbilt, and then the big ones, Oklahoma, A&M.
You're not going for
maybe.
Right.
Maybe, actually.
Yeah,
Maybe
Alabama, maybe. Let's not throw that one out the window.
That's a long time from now. But, yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, Hugh Freeze was asked about this at his presser on Monday. Like, okay, you saw Jackson, and, like, you'd seen bits of this before, but now that he's done it in an Auburn jersey, for you, are his legs going to be a larger part of the offense than maybe you anticipated? And he's like, it depends. Like, it's an RPO. Like, if they start putting more guys in the box, like, you're not going to do it. But if they keep playing cover 2 and backing guys up, yeah, that's going to be a thing. And I think you're going to see different defenses defend Auburn differently, because I think some defensive coordinators are concerned or will be concerned about Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton and Malcolm Simmons. We don't have enough data to see how other defensive coaches are going to monitor that. So, well, I think we're going to see more passing, obviously, this weekend against Ball State, but, like, whatever. Purdue beat them 31-0. They threw all over them. They were able to do whatever they wanted. I think that's going to be some of the intention for a few reasons. One, I think a confidence standpoint. You need to get the ball in these receivers. You need to get them going. And also, I just don't want Jackson Arnold getting hit 10 times in the first half. That just doesn't seem like a good idea. So, but to your point, like, sure, like, if you want to say, okay, Jackson wasn't great, or, like, I didn't learn anything about Jackson as a passer. Like,
I didn't say he didn't play a great game that was required. I'm just saying,
argument, but I get it. Like, sure. But I do think he was efficient. I think the times where he needed to put a ball up, he was able to do it. And I mean, there was a throw to Malcolm that he didn't catch that I thought was incredible as well. Doesn't show up in the box score, but, like, I just think that's just something we're going to wait and see when it comes down to it. And I mean, we probably won't know anything until they go to Norman, which is going to be awesome, especially if Oklahoma wins and both teams are undefeated and he's going home. Like, that's going to be a week, my guy.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier on today's show, and Brent Venables has got to win this week. Like, no excuses. He has to beat Michigan. I'm not making my prediction just yet on that game, but, like, the pressure is there.
It's a tough one to pick, I think.
It is. I think that the deck stacks in favor of Oklahoma, but it's not that hard to talk yourself into Michigan finding a way to win that game, because it's probably the best singular team John Mateer has played in his career. You know, he lit it up last week against Illinois State, and this is a more extreme example, but what I'm talking about with Arnold here, like, before I mentally get in the place of, like, I expect you to do this or you're going to go off and go crazy and let's talk about Auburn as a playoff team, like, no, we can talk about Auburn right now as being a good team in the SEC, but when they go to Oklahoma, I agree. I think that's the first test, because it's Ball State this week and then next week is South Alabama. Yeah, like, neither one of those games are going to teach us anything. Those are guaranteed games. Okay, fine. That Oklahoma game. If Jackson Arnold, I will come around, as you said you did on your show. You said Jackson Arnold won you over. Jackson Arnold will win me over as Auburn's starting quarterback if he goes into Norman and wins that game against that Oklahoma defense, and his arm is a difference maker, not just his legs.
I guess my thought with it, and I think this is where we're disagreeing, is, like, I don't think the concern for Jackson is anything physical. To me, it was all mental, and that comes to, you know, leadership / confidence and then decision-making. And the two things I had the biggest concern with were those two things, and those looked good on Friday night against Baylor. So I think that's you and I's disconnect there.
I think you're right. I think you're right that is the disconnect there. I think it was as simple of a situation as he's going to have all. I mean, they had a drive where they ran that same RPO play, 4 times in the same and average, like, and by the way, I'm not trying to knock Hugh Freeze for, you know, in game 1 on the road, not trying to test his quarterback or see how much he trusts him. No, like, you do whatever you have to do to win the game. You and I talked going into it, like, Hugh Freeze has got to win that game. Just win. Just win.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah. That's one of those games you just got to find a way to win. Same thing with Brent Venables in Oklahoma this week. I can't wait for Oklahoma Auburn. I'm already excited, but I don't want to look ahead, because every week of college football is great. And every segment is great with Zac Blackerby of Locked on Auburn, our fearless leader here on the College Channel. We're going to Las Vegas next. The Big Ten might have a new bottom feeder. First, this episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season's almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So if you feel like you know how the NFL season is going to play out, you can put your knowledge to the test with FanDuel. And if you want to bet anything college football related, you better believe they've got you covered. You have got point spreads, you have got point totals, you have got money line, everything you could possibly want is over there at FanDuel. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet and get up to $300 in bonus bets if you're right. This episode also brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. When you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That is why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So if you've had that one financial goal you've wanted to reach for a while, Monarch is here to help you get there. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONCollege. A Mountain West Big Ten showdown in Las Vegas. Boy, UCLA has to have this one, or else how bad could it get? Hopefully we're not asking that question for the sake of Zach Anderson, Yoxheimer, Locked On UCLA, joining me here on the show. Good start for me and my prediction about the Bruins this year, Zach. 43-10, the score from week 1 against Utah. Now, Utah is a much better program at the moment, but if UCLA can't go into Las Vegas and beat UNLV, who 2 weeks ago on that very field scraped by Idaho State of the FCS ranks, boy, questions are going to be raised.
Well, we're close, Spencer, right? We're close. Well, that's not what I'm saying. That's what DeShaun Foster said in his first availability at practice.
Was he referring to the point spread against UNLV?
I don't know, but now I think the FPI is only favoring UCLA in 3 games to get wins. Now it's looking at 3-9, so maybe I'll have to buy my own Nico jersey. I don't know. I thought that was never part of the bet, but but hey, yeah. If UCLA does it at this point, maybe that jersey will be cheaper for you. In all seriousness, UCLA has no defense, no line, and it was a little rough, despite very small pockets of sunshine on a deep SoCal night.
Are you talking about literal sunshine? Because I don't know what positives we had to take away from that Utah game.
Well, I somehow found a way to watch something more dark and depressing in the entertainment world via movie Sunday night compared to the UCLA game. So I found something to make me feel worse. So I think that's
what did you watch? Titanic?
Grave of the Fireflies?
What is that?
Studio Ghibli movie. That's a whole other topic. But UCLA...
No one's ever heard of that movie until now. This is the most publicity it's ever gotten, is airing on this program.
It's also from the late 1980s. I discovered this movie last week. I was like, I want to watch it. And I was depressed after.
So let me ask you, was that a worse feeling than watching game 1 play out?
It was.
That bad. Oh, dear.
It's dark. It's bleak. Oh. I mean, it was bleak. But for UCLA, back on topic, the football. I mean, it felt like, it's like the funny thing is, to spoil the first 2 seconds of the movie, the dude says, "I'm dead." UCLA didn't give us that. UCLA did at least give us that. They said, "We're good. Now we're dead," and it wasn't the case.
But now they're close.
We're close.
Now they're close. They're apparently very close. So UCLA fans are well aware at this point that I have been down on the Bruins ever since they hired DeShaun Foster, really going back to the time they let D'Anton Lynn go across the street to USC. This has been a progression of things that have not been good. And if they bottom out this year, like let's take worst case scenario, because you can't write an entire book about a team after one game, even as one as ugly as UCLA. I came on this show, Zach, and had every chance to dunk on Bill Belichick, and I did to an extent, while also trying to be fair, neutral arbiter of college football that I am, trying to be fair and say, you know what, his team can improve. It's game one. When you don't have playoff aspirations, the sky hasn't completely fallen. But I hope we can agree, UCLA fans, that even though Utah should have won the game, that was a bad start.
That was a bad start. The funny thing is, it felt eerily reminiscent of last year's home opener when Indiana came in and did almost the same thing. Not to that extent, game one, where UCLA looked pretty brutally bad against Utah, but something similar happened, and Indiana surprisingly made the playoff. But Indiana didn't just like score 7 touchdowns on 8 drives like Utah did, with the last one ending in a kneel down. It's ridiculous. When it comes to like trying to move on from DeShaun Foster, it's not going to happen with the AD that's in place. So it's going to take an overhaul from the very top. And I'm not sure they're going to do that in year 2. The hope is what happened last year, UCLA figured it out. The problem is there's no easy back into the schedule with 6 games. It's now. This is the time to get your 5 wins and feel some momentum. The hope is Utah was so strong up front on offense and defense that UCLA is more prepared against inferior O-lines and D-lines that aren't Penn State and Ohio State left, that they can compete and look better with some adjustments. Will that happen? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, let's get to this game against UNLV. Dan Mullen is 2-0 to begin his career. Hasn't exactly played, I'm used to saying Alabama in that spot, but maybe he needs to play Alabama. Maybe DeShaun Foster needs to play Alabama. We'll see. But he's played Idaho State.
Yeah, you know the fun facts. When did Alabama last lose a season opener?
I don't think Saban ever lost one.
Well, they had won 23 in a row, and they last lost to UCLA in 2001 with DeShaun Foster as the running back.
What a poll! Wow, that's a great connection point right there. I like that. Dan Mullen has beaten Idaho State, and he has beaten Sam Houston State, who was an FCS program 2 or 3 years ago.
They still kind of are, if you really think about it. They're not.
They were actually good. They were actually good in Conference USA last year. They finally found their footing, took a step forward.
But no, again, James Madison. Yeah.
No, not JMU level FCS to FBS jump. Like if Montana or Montana State made the FCS to FBS jump, and they were to go into, say, the Mountain West, I think it would be pretty instantaneous that they're at least competent. But this UNLV roster is the roster of some has-been names in college football. Alex Orji, JoJo Earl, Justin Flo. The list goes on, quite frankly. But there's some talent there. They played much better in week 2. But let's also not make any bones about as bad as UCLA looked. They're a small favorite of 2.5 points, according to our friends at FanDuel. Even though they're on the road, they should win this game, right?
They should. I mean, UNLV doesn't have an imposing road environment. Of all the Mountain West schools you could probably go to, this is probably the most favorable, where if you're on the road, you're not going to face like a daunting crowd like at Laramie or in Fresno or even San Diego State, who finally beat UCLA a few years ago. This is a game where if UCLA wants to get Nico some stats, this is the game. UNLV's defense has been horrible against terrible competition.
Yeah.
Now, this is where we'll see if UCLA can make some defensive adjustments, because the Rebels have put up points. So if UCLA is still giving up 40 points, that is still going to be a problem and a source of concern. But if Nico doesn't have like 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, and the Bruins don't put up 400 yards of offense, which is a lot, seeing what they just did against Utah, UNLV's numbers are that bad. If they don't show that to me, this could be horrible. I just don't think that will happen against UNLV. I think the Bruins can right the ship, put up points. The question is, will it be 45-42? Will it be 35-32? What type of defense will be played?
Yeah, Idaho State, an FCS team that hasn't had a winning campaign since 2018, week 1 put up 31 points. Sam Houston, Conference USA, 21 points. If this is not 31 points minimum, we've got some serious problems. I'm actually going to save my pick for my best bets of the week on Friday's show, but I will allow you, if you so choose, to make your pick. And also give me one key in this game. What does UCLA need to do to go in there and take care of business?
Well, after getting waxed, losing 20-0, I think kind of a momentum thing is you win the toss, take the ball, score first. Like, don't have Nico trailing. If the defense was that bad, you want the ball first and you want the lead, because then the defense just plays with a lot more enthusiasm. So I think the biggest thing is, can UCLA get a running game? They hadn't had it in 2024, didn't truly establish it outside of Nico's scrabbles in the first game. If they can impose the will against UNLV, yes, Nico can put up big numbers, but they need a running game. So can they run the ball against UNLV? That's the biggest thing. I'm going to say UCLA wins this in a high-scoring thriller. Will it be an epic 45-42? Will it be a normal high-scoring thriller, 35-32? Those are all in play, or will we get stuck with an under, and that would just be disappointing for all college football fans.
So you're taking UCLA to win and cover. I'm going to stash that one in the memory bank. Maybe I'll trust, maybe I'll fade you. Zach Anderson-Yoxheimer, Locked On UCLA. That's it for the show today. Back tomorrow as always. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.